to it, all you grade 10 mindsetters. It is a Thursday afternoon, 4 o'clock, so you know what that means. I am Looney, and with me in studio is Hayley. How are you doing,
Hi,
ma'am?
Looney. Doing well. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So what are we
Good.
doing on the show today?
We're going to be dealing with money. We're going to be dealing with personal finance.
Yes.
We're going to go through a whole lot of documents and things and VAT and quite
right.
an exciting show.
So you heard it for yourselves, guys. Personal finance.
I'm
So let
going
me
there.
send you to your board. While she's on the board, let me just tell you a few things you need to know to keep in touch with us on today's show. Don't forget to hit us up on Twitter at LearnExtra, on Facebook at facebook.com/LearnExtra. You can download all your show notes at learnextra.co.za/live. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Macmillan, for giving us such a great show. And with all of that said, I'll hand over to our teacher, Hayley.
Thanks, Looney. Hi, guys. Okay, so today we're going to be doing personal finance. So let's go through and see what we're going to be doing in the lesson. Today we're going to work with various financial documents so that we understand financial documents, because at the end of the day, finance is all about these documents. We're going to make sense of the terminology used in these financial documents, look at various tariff systems, and I'll explain that in a moment, use calculations with VAT, and finally, we're going to perform calculations with personal income tax. Because you matrix out there, you're going to be getting jobs next year, and you need to understand the tax. So let's see our key concepts. First of all, our financial documents. Money plays a very important role in our everyday life. Hey, it's how our lives revolve. We need to understand the various financial documents in order to manage our money. Now, some of us are better at managing our money than others. Looney, how do you do with managing your money?
I try, hey? I try.
I got that every month I try.
I try.
Somehow for me, there's always a little bit more month than there is money. Okay, so we need to be able to manage our money. These include household bills, such as your electricity and water accounts, as well as telephone accounts, cell phone bills, and you know what, the list is actually endless. So you can think about your accounts, kind of like all your store accounts. Also, you've got to budget for food, and there's a whole lot of things that go into your personal finance. Let's move on to the next thing. So the terminology that are used in these accounts. In every account, there are important terms that we need to understand. I'm going to show you an account. I'm just going to quickly go through this. I'm going to show you an account, and we're going to look for these things. So we've got opening, the date or time period of the document. That's important to see, so you know what month you are being charged for. Opening and closing balances, credit or debit, payment due, minimum payment, and your tariff or your charge, and then VAT as well. So let us look at a document. So now, give me a second. I'm going to get my piece of paper to see what we were looking for. So we needed the date. So our date of our statement. This, in fact, is Lesedi. It is going to Mrs. Clark. We are looking at here, this is a water account. So our date is account summary as of the 6th of the 4th, 2011. This comes straight out of the Macmillan textbook. We've got a tax invoice number and a customer registration number. Your customer number usually is a unique number that refers only to you. Hey, what was the next thing we need to look at? The opening and closing balances. So let me delete this, okay, and make it a less intrusive line. So that was our date. We had the previous balance. That was 22.90 Rand. That was brought forward from the month before. Then we had a payment on the 14th of the 3rd of 221.44 Rand. So the credit in total was 244. So what's one of the things we need to look at? The credit and the debit. When you pay an account, you end up with a credit, you owe, there's a debit. Our last account, okay, is 251.98 Rand. And it says here, see reverse for details. That will give you your tariff. The tariff is the rate at which you get charged for the units that you're using for this information. And then we've got a balance, the credit, and the amount due is 251.98 Rand. And there's your payable by date. So we go through the account step by step. You'll go through all of these terms and you'll see what it is that you need to pay. Okay, I don't have a VAT on this because this account that will be on the reverse, where we had the C reverse for details. That'll include your VAT. So what is the total due? The total due is actually only R7.64 because we had overpaid and we had a credit going into this month for this person. Hey, it gives you a lot of information on these accounts. You get telephone numbers of who you would phone if there's a problem, and you can go through, it gives you all information. So also got a pay slip of how much is due, and you can see that the amount due is there, but the actual due rate in cash was R7.60. Right, let's move on to the next thing that we're looking at, our tariff system. A tariff is a scaled costing structure. This means that the charge changes as the amount of product or service used increases. So we can think about a tariff of our cell phones. I know you all got cell phones, so you kind of understand that. Well, if we're on a prepaid cell phone and we're paying, I think they've been advertising, I'm not going to mention the thing because I might get into trouble, but I know I've got like 99 cents per minute. Luni, have you heard those adverts? Or somebody, the cell phone? Okay, so the tariff there, you're paying 99 cents for every minute. The more you spend on the phone, the longer you spend on the phone, the more you're going to be paying. So that's the kind of structure we're looking at. But let's look at an example of when you park at the airport. The tariff for parking might kind of read as follows. 0 to 2 hours, you're being charged 20 Rand. 2 to 3, 30, 3 to 4, 40, and it goes up as you spend more time at the airport. Now there's a couple of interesting things that occur to me here. Why is 0 to 20 like such a huge amount of 20 Rand? And the answer to that is most people going to the airport are going to pick somebody up or drop somebody off, so they're spending less than 2 hours in the airport. So your bigger amounts are probably, I mean, I can't think of somebody that would spend actually like 5 or 6 hours at the airport. I'm not sure why they would do that. Maybe go shopping at the airport. It's quite nice, the tempo. So most people are actually going to be spending 0 to 2 hours at the airport, and that's why that's your biggest amount, and then it goes up in those increments. Right. And then we've got to look at VAT. Let's change our color here. VAT is value-added tax. It is charged on most things that you buy, but certain foods like milk, bread, fresh fruit and vegetables, maize meal, and tinned pilchards are exempt from VAT. That means we do not pay VAT on these items. And this is just one way the government is saying, well, you know what? For those disadvantaged people that don't have a lot of money, we're going to help them out and not charge them VAT. Because the rest of the people, everybody else, and everybody, in fact, even those people with not a lot of money that are buying not these goods, are still paying that VAT. It's a way of taxing everybody. But the government has said, well, okay, certain items we will exempt to help those people out. VAT is calculated at 14% of the price of the items. Now, bear in mind, this will be given to you in an exam. So if you can't remember 14%, but I hope that you do a lot of calculations with VAT and that you're using it all the time. So you do remember it's 14%. But if not, it will be given to you in an exam. And the price on goods in shops at the moment all include the 14% VAT already. So if I go to the shops and I see something that I want to buy, and it's $29.95, that is including my VAT. So I don't have to add the VAT after that. The last thing we're going to be looking at today is personal income tax. So every person who earns an income or salary has to pay tax on their income. They pay this to the South African government. This tax is calculated using a sliding scale, and this means that the more you earn, the more tax you pay. So it's quite a complicated table, and I'm going to go through it in a little bit of detail. And this is taken from the SARS website for the 1st of March 2013 to the 28th of Feb 2014. So this is the current tax as we see it now. Now, what the government have said is they've said everybody needs to pay tax. But it's not fair. The person that's earning a fortune of money is paying a lot more tax than the person who's not earning a lot. So they do it on the sliding scale. So for the first 165 odd thousand rand, every single person working pays 18%. Then on the next lot of money, so from 165,601 to 258,000, you pay 25%. And then thereafter, the next bracket goes up to 30%. So a person who's earning, let's look at somebody who's earning 500,000 rand. So let's look at somebody who's earning 500,000 rand. Now, wish that was me. Don't you wish that was you, Lenny?
Of course.
500,000 rand. Now, we're talking about annual salary. So 500,000 rand, first of all, we find out where does that person fit in this table. So taxable income, they are in this bracket here. From 358,111 to 500,904. So they are paying this amount here. I think I should actually highlight this. Maybe highlighting will work. Let's see if that helps. Okay, no, highlighting I don't think is going to help us. Right, they are paying, I'll rewrite it. They are paying 82,904 plus 35% of the amount above 358,110. Basically, what this means is this person is paying 18% on the first lot of money, then they're paying 25% on the next lot of money, then they're paying 30% on the next lot of money, and finally they're paying 35% on their last lot of money. So this 82,904 rand is made up of the 18% on the certain portion, the 25%, the 30%. So that is how they get that 82,000. So in order for us to work this out now, we're going to say 82,904 plus 35% of is multiply the amount above 358,000. So we take the salary that this person's earning, that's our 500,000, and we minus 358,110. So if we do this on our calculator, let's get that number first. 500,000 minus 358. What was that amount? 358,110. And we see that that's 141,890. Now I need 35% of that. So let's write that in, 141,890. I'm going to get 35% of that, so I'm going to take that and times by 35%, get an answer of 49,661 rand and 50 cents, and to that I'm adding the 82,904. So plus 82,904, and we get an answer. This person has to pay 132,565 rand and 50 cents in tax. 132. 565 and 50 cents. Now that is what they pay in tax per year. And some people are paying more in tax per year than some of us are earning in salary. Isn't that scary, Lenny?
That's very
scary. I've done these calculations before and I thought, I'd actually like to earn just the tax that they pay. Do you think maybe it's time we should take a little bit of a break and then we can come back to questions, or not sure what I
Okay, we can take a break.
think let's
All
do
right,
it.
guys, we're going to take a very short break, but before we go, I'd like to remind you guys to enter yourselves and your friends and everyone you know in the Future Stars competition. You guys stand a chance of winning so many great prizes, and you must urge all your friends to vote for you. I'd also like to send a shout out to Stephanie Blight, who's enjoying the show, and she says her mommy's not having a great day, so I hope your mommy's having a great day now that she's watching Learn Extra. Guys, we're going to take a very short break, so don't you go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, from the break. I hope you guys are refreshed and ready to go again. We're doing personal finance with Haley, and I am Looney. Checking out all your Facebook posts, your tweets. Hit me up, guys. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Haley.
Thanks, Looney. Guys, welcome back. Okay, I think the best thing to do now is to actually just jump into the questions. So we're looking at questions 1, which comes from the Solutions for All, Maths Lit, grade 11. We're dealing with topic 4, page 114, question 2. And you know, you can get these notes online. I'm sure Looney will tell you all about this later, so you can follow that. Right, the table shows 2 of the tariff structures for electricity in Gauteng for units of electricity purchased. So our electricity is charged in kilowatt hours. We're looking at 2 different units here. We're looking at prepaid electricity, and we're looking at domestic. Prepaid at one rate, and your domestic, that means you've got a contract for this electricity. So with your energy charge, this is cents per kilowatt hour. They charge you in cents per kilowatt hour. If you are between 0 and 500 kilowatt hours, you're being charged 70.52. Now, this is actually quite an interesting discussion I had with my, I think it was my grade 11 class the other day, is that we're charging 70.52 cents. Now, that seems like a bit of a bizarre amount, because why would we be charging a fraction of a cent? But this is one place where we work with 4 decimal places. So if I had to put that into rands, I would actually make that into 0.7052 rands. And what happens is that we calculate with 4 decimal places and then round off at the very end where we only pay, because we do only have 2 cents, or 2 units, 2 cents. So there is only 100 cents. We don't have fractions of a cent. But this way, the electricity departments don't lose the money, because it actually works out the rounding effect is quite a lot. They don't overcharge us either. So we've got different sliding scales. If you're using more than 3,000 kilowatt hours, then you're paying 100.33 cents. Now, your service charge, in this case, we're looking at, this is rands per meter. You are paying a flat rate of 307 rand and 4 cents. That's for the joy of having electricity. So even before you've used 1 kilowatt, before you've switched on 1 light, you're paying 300 rand. And then your energy charges for 0 to 500 is 79.31. And over 3,000, you can look at the difference here of 84.99 compared to your 100 rand, 100 cents. So it actually is a little bit cheaper as you use more electricity. Now, the question says, show that on the prepaid option, the cost of 1,010 units is 836 rand 38. So let's do this. We first need to find it. We're looking at the prepaid. So let me change my colors. We're looking at the prepaid. 1,010, I've got to find it in here. There's my 1,010, so I'm paying 96.75. So I take that unit, 96.75, and I'm timesing that by my number of units. Okay? And I'm now going to get my calculator out and say 96.75 times 1010, get an answer of 9717. Okay, 96.75. Now I'm going back to check why this is not the same. Definitely was 96.75. Okay, so I've got 9717. Nine seven seven. Oh yeah, 977. I'm struggling today with numbers. 7. So let's cross that out. 97717, comma 5. And that is cents. So now I need to convert it to rands. So I'm going to go back to my calculator and divide that by 100. And this is the point where I'm going to round it off. And it's 977 rand 18. I'm not really sure why it's not the same. So they wanted us to get 836, and I'm not really 100% sure why it is not the same. But and you get these kind of situations, just go with it and do your calculation. We know the calculation is correct, so we've probably had a typing mistake there, and that might be my fault. I think I mistyped it. Okay, let's move on to the next question though. They want to show that the domestic option, the cost for 300 units is $544.97. Now, I hope I didn't make a mistake with this one. So, first of all, 300 units is that rate. So I'm taking my 300 units and I'm timesing it by 79 Rand 31. And these are cents. So I'm going to do that first. So 300 times 79.31, and I get 23793. 23793. Now remember that was cents. I need to work in rands, so I'm going to just move my decimal twice, or divide by 100. But with the domestic, we had a flat rate of 307 Rand. So to that, I need to add 307 Rand and 4 cents. So to that, I'm going to add, and on my calculator, what I can do is I can divide that by 100, which will give me the amount in rands, and add my 307 Rand and 4 cents, and I see that it's 544.97. At least there wasn't a mistake in this one. 544.97. In fact, in the last question, I was going to say it's really nice when they give you the answer, because then you know when you got the answer that it's actually correct. So hopefully they've checked the typing mistakes. Okay, move on to the next question. Right, the Smith household uses the prepaid option. They use an average of 1,400 units of electricity every month. How much does it cost Mrs. Smith to buy 1,400 units of electricity? Show your calculations. So we're taking our 1,400 units, and she's buying it, we're assuming she's buying it all at once, so she's going to be paying this rate here of 96.75. So we're going to times that by 96.75 and then convert to cents. So let's do that in one step. So it's 1,400 times by 96.75 equals, divide by 100. So she is paying 1,354 Rand 50. 1,354.50. 1,354.50. And don't forget two things now. When we're talking about money, we need to show two decimal places. So coming back to my question, even though it was comma 5 on my calculator, I need that 0, really, really important, and I need the unit. We're dealing with money, so you must give me the Rand value, the Rand sign. Okay, let's move to the next question and see the rural family household uses the domestic option. If they also use 1,400 units, how much do they pay? So for them, we've got 1,400 units, and we're timesing that by 81.99. But we need to add our 307.04, and to this we need to actually divide by 100. I'm going to do this all on the calculator. I'm sure you guys can follow this, and we've done one before. 1,400 times 81.99 equals, we're going to divide by 100, and we're going to add our 307.04. And she's paying 1,454.90. So, what was that last amount? Was it bigger? The last amount was 1,3, so she's paying a little bit more. But you can see it's going to get to a point where your actual domestic is cheaper. It's important to be able to compare these things. Hey, let's move on to the next question, which deals with VAT and another kind of document that we have that we get almost on a daily basis. Well, I know I go to the shops every day. Leonie, I don't know how often you shop, But I'm there like every day. There's always something that I... And when I get home, this is the most fascinating thing. When I get home, my kids will say to me, but Mom, we needed this. There's always more to shop for. Okay.
Always an excuse.
Always an excuse. So we're going to look at a till slip now, because it's a very important financial document. Okay. This is taken basically also out of Macmillan's book. It's a grade 10, we're into chapter 8, page 137, and I'm dealing with exercise 8.1. So answer the questions relating to the till slip. So we're looking at a till slip for Pinelands Pharmacy, and it tells you that you've got club card, saving points, join today. Right. There's all the things that we've bought. We've got a balance due at this point here, which is 147.41. Paid by credit card, tells us the date, it gives a whole lot of information on this thing. So we've got the expiry date of the credit card, the total before VAT, we've got our VAT amount, everything that we need to know, and this person earned 12 points for this purchase. What was the total cost of the goods bought? Well, there's our balance due, and it was 147 Rand and 41 cents. I really like these kind of questions. I really like these questions. So there's the amount that we have bought. What's nice about these till slips is you find the information, it's there for you, and you get the marks. And very often it's 2 marks in an exam, which is really nice. So let's see what the next question is. Okay, how much VAT did the total amount include? So we go back to our till slip. Let's change our color for a bit, and let's go with green. I haven't used green today. Right, total VAT, there's our total VAT. So there you go, 7 Rand and 65 cents. And what they've actually given you is they've given you the total before VAT. But remember, everything that was on the shelf, or everything that was on the slip, is actually including VAT. So this particular till slip has split it into before and after, and they just want to know our total. So how much did the VAT come to? It was 7 Rand 65. Well, I like this green, it's nice and bright. Okay, let's move on. What was the total cost of VAT exempt items? Now this is funny. I was talking about the VAT exempt items earlier, and those were things that we don't pay VAT on. But I don't know if we get any of these at the pharmacy. So we're going to look at what we've bought, and we can see that there was tissues, cheese, knickknacks, speckled eggs. So we're dealing with tissues, we've got some knickknacks, speckled eggs, again some chips, hairpins, and none of these have got any marks next to it. Now, normally when there's VAT exempt, you will have like a dash, what's it called? A hashtag. Going totally blank. Or you'll have a star next to it, and it'll actually say VAT exempt. So, as well as it says 0% VAT, VAT exempt is 0. So, what was the total amount? The total amount here was 0. Or there was none. You can add that in words. There was nothing that was VAT exempt. And then we go to the next question. Find the place on the till slip where the total cost of the items, including VAT, is situated. So there is the amount where, find the place on the till slip where the total cost of the items, including VAT, is situated. So there's the total, including VAT, your 147.41. Write down the amount of goods for which VAT is charged. VAT is charged on 139.76. 139.76. And do the calculations to prove that the VAT totaled 7 Rand 65. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to take our amount excluding our VAT, and we're going to times by 14%, because that's our VAT amount. So we're going to say 139.76 times by 14%. And 139.76, and now, no, wait, we've got this. Right, 139.76, it should be 7 Rand 65. I'm not sure why that's not working. Is 19.56. So go back to my till slip. Hey. Total after VAT, total before VAT. There's our taxable value. Okay, I'll see what mistake I've made. The taxable value was 62 Rand 29. When we had on our last thing, the zero VAT was actually 85 Rand 12. This OTC was not charged VAT for, and they didn't record it. So we need to go back. So let's go back one question. That question here was actually, go back to our green pen, was 85 Rand 12. And then the next question, that was a silly little mistake. The next question here was, and then I think we need to take a break. I think I need it. 62 Rand 29. And now we take our 62 Rand 29 here, not the whole amount. 62 Rand 29. So 62,29 times 14% is your 8 Rand 72. Now we still don't get that. Okay, let's take a break. What's important for you guys to note about this, really, is that we also make mistakes. What we need to be able to do is actually go back and pick up where did we make the mistake, how do we make the mistake, and correct it. So you always have to be thinking. So I'm going to leave this question right now, and I'm going to take a bit of a break, because I think I need a bit of a stretch. I'm going to give you a break, because I'm sure you need a break. So I'm going to hand over to Lenny.
All right. Guys, as Hayley said, it is so important to make sure that you're focused and you know what you're doing, because anyone can make a mistake, no matter how old you are. We are going to take a very, very short break just to get your minds refreshed, get something to drink, chill out a bit, and just focus on the question. And when we come back, we will do the question again, and Hayley will make sure that she knows what she has done wrong and she will rectify her mistakes. Do not forget to enter the Future Star Awards, guys. You get so many prizes. So you stand a chance to win so many prizes. Make sure you ask your friends to vote for you, and make sure you encourage your friends to enter as well. And after the break, we'll make sure we come back to this question and rectify our mistakes. Don't you go anywhere, guys. Welcome back, guys. We are refreshed, we are fine, we have rectified our mistakes. And if you're wondering what this nice box in front of me is, we're going to do, yes, and why Hayley's here all of a sudden. We're about to do our lucky draw for the person who wins a book. So I'll ask Hayley to take out a paper over here.
Mix it. Okay, I'll go on.
Yes, and who's the winner?
And the winner is, and you're going to forgive me for pronunciation, Lena Mason from Norcombe Park High School.
Yay! Well done! Yay! Well done! And then let's just make a draw for what book Lena wins.
Okay, and the book that you win is Raven's Gate by
Raven's Gate.
Horowitz.
Yes, well done to Lena. You have won your book, so it will be coming to you very soon. We won't take too long, but we'll go straight to Hayley. She has rectified her mistakes. She knows what went wrong. So, guys, make sure that you do stay tuned and you listen very carefully and you have your thinking caps on, because anyone can make a mistake. So, Hayley, over to you again.
Thank you. So now this is what's important, be able to pick up where you left off. Now, I was really just having one of these like blonde moments, and I apologize to all you blondes out there. So, total before VAT was 139.76. There was 139.76. We had an amount of 85 Rand 12 that was not charged VAT on. So I needed to actually work out the balance of this, because I was working on the amount that was including VAT instead of the other way around. So I'm going to take that 139.76 minus my 85 Rand 12, and I get an answer of 54 Rand 64, and to that I can add VAT, so times by 14%. So now there I see that it's 7 Rand 65. So that's perfect, that's exactly what it should be, so that's how we do the solution. The alternative was when I took the 62 Rand 29, which I have there, I could have actually divided by 114% to get the original amount and then minus the 2, and I would have got the same value. But what I'm going to do right now is I want you to move on, and in actual fact I'm going to leave out question 3. I'm going to move ahead, I want you to do the matric question. So So I'm going to go ahead to the matric question. Now, for all of you that want to still do, there was another question on tariffs. They're in the notes that are posted online, so you can do those calculations. So this is question 5. It's adapted from the NSC, the Western Cape paper of September 2008, paper 2, and it's question 5. So we got Mr. van der Merwe is 35 years old and receives a monthly salary of 20,000 Rand. Calculate his annual gross salary. Now, what's important about a gross salary is that your total that you earn. From that, they start taking off all deductions, you pay various amounts, and then you get a net salary. So we've got two things, gross and net, but gross is based on his salary. Take into account that he receives a 13th paycheck. So that's quite an easy sum, 20,000 Rand per month and 13 months. So, because he earns a 13th check. And we get an answer of 260,000 Rand. Now, bear in mind, this is a paper 2 question, but there's nothing hard about this. So, paper 2 is not always that hard. A lot of easy questions in it. Then we have the following deductions can be made on a taxpayer's gross salary before you calculate his income tax. We can take off medical expenses a maximum of 6,360 per year. Now, the maximum means that you can't take off more than 6,360, but you can also only take off the maximum that you pay. So if this person who we're dealing with, if Mr. van der Merwe only pays 5,000 Rand in medical aid in the year, then he can only deduct 5,000. But if he pays more than 6,300, so say he pays 10,000 Rand for the year, he can still only deduct 6,360. A pension fund is a maximum of 7.5% of his annual gross salary. So a maximum, again, you can pay more, but you can only deduct a maximum of 7.5%. Mr. van der Merwe has a medical expenses of 4,500 Rand per year and a pension fund payment of 11,400 per year. Calculate his total deductible expenses for the year. So, first of all, we're going to do them in 2 steps. So the medical aid, the maximum he can deduct was that. He is paying 4,500 per year, so he can't deduct more than 4,500. So the medical aid is 4,500 Rand. That is deductible. For his pension, let's now write the pension in. We can a maximum of 7.5% of his salary. So we need to take his salary, which was at 260,000 Rand, and work out what 7.5% of that is. First, so we've already got that number up, his annual salary, and times that by 7.5%. And we see that that's 19,500. So that total is 19,500. That's the maximum that he can deduct. But how much does he pay? He pays 11,400. So in total, his total deductions are, so for his pension, his deduction is 11,000, what was that number? 11,400. So total, we need to take that. Let's do a different color, maybe we're going to add that and that. We're going to add them here. So let's get our calculator out. And it's 4,500 plus 11,400. We get an answer of 15,900. The total was 1,000. No, this can't remember what that was now. 15,900. That's the total deductions. Now, I've been doing so many calculations that I've forgotten exactly what the question asks. I'm going to go back and check. And this is something I do regularly, and I'm hoping that you do too, to check that you've actually answered what they're asking you. So it says calculate his total deductible expenses for a year. So we've got his pension, we've got his medical aid, and we have deduct his deductible pension for the year. Deductible expenses. So let's move on to the next question. Mr. okay, calculate his annual salary after his deductions. So his annual salary was our 260,000 minus that 15,900. So on our calculator, we take our 260,000 minus our answer, we're 244,100. So his total salary is 244,100. Was that what the number said? 244,100. So that is his taxable income. So tax is going to be calculated on that value. Right, now use the table below to calculate his annual income tax. Assume that his annual salary after deduction is 244,100. That's the answer we received. And very often they're going to give you the answer so you can check it. But if they haven't, if you made a mistake and you didn't get this number, please then use the number that they've given you. And if they give you a value, always use their value rather than one that you've calculated. So we're going to look at this table, and we're going to first see where does he fall into this table. So I'm going to use the green, and I need to find 244,100, and that is in this bracket here, between 180,000 and 250. So he is paying this value there. So he's going to be paying, let's write this out, 37,125 plus 30% of the amount above 180. So he earns 244,100 minus 180. So that is 30% of that. So we are going to do that on the calculator. So I'm going to first do that 244,100 minus the 180, and that's 64,100. I'm going to rewrite that as 64,100. He's paying 30% of that plus this original amount, 37,125. So let's work out our 30% on that. So times that by 30%, and it's 19230. We're going to add that amount, this 37,125, in total in tax, plus 37,125, and he's paying 56,355. 56,355. So that's the amount of tax that he needs to pay. But then we've got a tax rebate. That's an amount deductible from the tax payable. So every person gets a rebate. That's kind of the government's way of saying, well, the first lot of money that you earn, you actually don't have to really pay tax. So he is under 65 because we heard earlier that he was 35. So he gets a rebate of 7,740. So from the tax that he pays, we now minus the rebate of the 7,740, 7740. So now we're going to minus 7740, and we see that he pays 48,615. Go back to my question to check that I've done the question correctly, and it says, use the table to calculate his annual income tax. That's his annual income tax. Assume that his annual salary after deductions was that. So we have calculated his annual income tax at 48,615 Rand. So we've done the question, we've answered what they want. Don't forget things like your units, and always check that. All right, let's see what the next part of the question is. So he is calculate his net income after tax has been deducted. So now we're going to take his salary, which was the 244 Rand 100, and we're going to minus the tax, which I've got on my calculator. So let's get the calculator, 48615. And on the calculator, we can actually put the 244,100 minus the on-site. So his net salary is 195,485. 195,485. That looks like a strange rand. Let's just neaten that up. So 195 Rand, that's his net salary. That's what he takes home salary. How do you think we're doing for time?
We're still good.
Still
We can
good.
still go.
Okay, I hope we're still good. So let's see what the next part of the question is. So, right. Mr. van der Merwe, back to our 35-year-olds. Right. Employers are obliged to deduct PAYE. So PAYE is pay as you earn. If the government had to leave it to all of us to say, well, okay, you're going to, at the end of the year, owe us, well, in our case, we had like 48,000 Rand, and you can pay us at the end of the year, that's fine. We're never going to have that money. So what the government says is that, no, on a regular basis, you have to pay us. And the way this is done is off your salary, they take PAYE, so pay as you earn, from their salaries and pay it over to SARS, that's the South African Revenue Service. You get your PAYE when you calculate your monthly income tax. Now, however, since your employer will not know how much money to deduct for your medical expenses and pension fund, your PAYE might be slightly larger than the answer you get from your calculations. So you can claim this difference from SARS and they pay it back to you. So basically, your company is taking off your tax every month. They've worked out a monthly amount. At the end of the day, you fill in a tax return. And that tax return, you then tell the government how much you've actually paid them, how much you actually earn, what all your deductions are. And there are times that, hopefully, if everything works well, the receiver then has to pay you the difference. Okay? And you're hoping that you're not in a position where you have to pay the receiver money. So it's always nice when they owe you money. But that's what you get taken off every month. So let's check Mr. van der Merwe's payslip. So look at Mr. van der Merwe's payslip. How much PAYE is subtracted every month? So we look at his payslip. We've got his name. We've got the date. So okay, that was for December. ID number. His tax reference number is important. There you see his salary. This is December, so he was getting his 13th check. So he earned a total of 4,000. There was medical aid being deducted from his and a pension fund, but in December, the PAYE was 4,145. So the thing is, it said how much every month. So it was 4,145. That's the amount that was deducted. Remember then, in this case, we had 13 months. We were dealing with a double check, and in actual fact, you'll see here that this was deducted twice. So that shows you that it was for both amounts. So total that was deducted was 4,145. Next part of the question is, how much PAYE will be subtracted in total during 2007 if he received 13 salary checks? Well, we're going to take that 4,145 and times it by 13. I get our calculator out. 4,145 times by 13, and we get 53885. So in total, he is paying 53,000. Now I can't remember the number again. 885. That is what he's paying every month to the receiver over the year. Next part of our question says, what is the difference between the PAYE and the total annual income tax that you calculated in the questions above? So the PAYE was what we've just calculated. That was the 53885. And forget your units. Okay, the income tax that we had calculated earlier was 48 something. We need to go back to that. There's the question before this. Was 48,615. Let's move forward now. $48,615. So that was the tax that we calculated. And I want to know the difference between the two. So I've got that number. Let's minus my original that I calculated. And I get 5270. So the difference here was 5,270 Rand. So he has overpaid. And when he does his tax returns, he's going to be great, go spending. It'd be nice if the receiver owed, I'd love it if the receiver owed me money at the bit. Okay, let's see what the next question is. Was sufficient PAYE tax deducted from Mr. van der Merwe's salary during the year to cover his total tax expenses, and motivate your answer? So in this case, we definitely say, well, yes, it was. And what's our motivation? Well, he had more, so he paid more. He paid more PAYE. Well, that's definitely a very strange A. So try that again. He paid more PAYE than he did than tax. Than the income tax that we calculated. So in actual fact, he is going to need a refund. So we can actually include this, that he's going to need a refund. I think that takes us to the end of the question. It definitely does take us. And what we've done is we've got everything sorted out. So we've answered all the questions correctly. I mean, we've answered all. Go back and check. Now, what's nice about questions where it says motivate your answer, these are the kind of questions that you're going to find in paper 2. They're honestly not always hard. So we think, you know, Luni, it's fascinating. The kids that I teach, and they say to me, paper 2 is like so much harder than paper 1. And yet there's so many questions. Whenever it says motivate your answer, now that's a higher thinking level. And those are the kind of questions that you're going to get in a paper 2. But often those motivate your answers are not hard. There was nothing hard about this question. And yet it's the highest thinking level that we've got in Mathslit. So I actually think that the guys, you must like, be ready for this paper 2. Be ready for this paper 2. Okay, guys, what I understand personal finance is look after your money and learn, like, do these documents, look at these documents, check with your parents, what are they paying, why are they paying, and kind of get involved. And I hope you manage your money better than I manage my money. But on that note, I'm going to hand you over to Luni so she can tell you all the things that you need to tell you, and I'm going to say goodbye till next week.
Okay, guys, that brings us to the end of our show. As Haley said, ask your parents what they're doing with their money so that you can practice all the time. Thank you so much for talking to us on Facebook and on Twitter. You guys didn't have any problems. You had a lovely show. You enjoyed the show like we did, and you just had a great time. Thank you so much to you, Haley, for being with us today and for explaining and helping us with our Mathslit. I really had a great time, guys. Don't forget that after this, we do have grade 11 accounting, so hope the grade 11s are ready. But other than that, thank you so much for tuning in and for having us on your screens today. Thank you so much to Macmillan for sponsoring our show. It was lovely, guys. Don't you go anywhere, because after this it's accounting. But as for you grade 10s, same time, same place next week. See you then. Goodbye.